My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. This is the only channel dedicated to UFC fight picks and DraftKings lineups run by MMA insiders and professional fighters. Every week, I join Dan Kramer and Nick Newell, two longtime professional fighters that have fought at the highest levels on the planet, as well as Jacob Lyons, a skinny kid from Indiana. So join us every single week for our full fight card breakdowns, our individual fight card breakdowns, our betting guide, and our DraftKings lineups.
I'm on vacation, but that doesn't stop the train. So we're going to walk through our final DraftKings lineups. This was a crazy week. We had fights that were kind of off the card that are back on. We have Alonzo Menafield with a new opponent, and we've had full-on fights drop. So crazy week. These are our final lineups. I'm hoping we don't have to do another one of these in 2 hours like we did last week. But let's walk through what we've got going on here for tonight's UFC 260 fight. I have Alonzo Menafield in my lineup. He has a last-minute opponent. Charant is a very good striker. We broke that down. Check out the individual fight breakdown video. He's a good striker. He's a very tough opponent, but it's short notice, and he missed weight by a half a pound, which means the fact that he didn't continue to try to lose that half a pound means he's pretty beat up. He's pretty sucked out. It literally wasn't worth his time. He'd rather just give up 20% of his purse or whatever it is and be done with it. So I have Alonzo Menafield in here. I think there's a stoppage. I also went with Stipe Miocic. We talked about that before. We broke that fight down. He is the current champion. He already won this fight. So obviously, if his head comes off of his body with a big Francis punch, nobody's going to be surprised. But I just think Stipe has more ways to win. He'll out-grapple, and I think he can and will outstrike Ngannou. He won't out-power strike him, but he certainly can pick him apart and stay far enough away to not get knocked out. He knows that's Francis's path to victory, and I think he'll avoid that and do well for us. I also have Omar Morales. So that's the fight. This fight was off the card, then back on the card. Outlets were reporting that it dropped, but it never technically did. So this one was a mess. But I do like Morales in this fight. I think he's just huge for the weight class. So I'm hoping he doesn't gas. And he's not a giant volume guy, but I do think he'll get a stoppage here. So that's why I put him in my lineup. I actually replaced Sean O'Malley with Morales. I just don't trust Sean O'Malley. Now, if Sean O'Malley comes out and looks like an absolute beast, it wouldn't be surprising. But, I mean, let's be honest. He quit in his last fight. He's had injuries in the past. He's pretending he didn't lose. Like, there's a lot going on there. Jacob, you shared an interview with us yesterday that he did after weigh-ins, and he looked like a straight-up crackhead. Like, that did not look like an easy weight cut. He wasn't all there. I'm staying away from Sean O'Malley, and I swapped him for Morales. I have Nurmagomedov. So while he's not the beast that the rest of his family is, he still is a very solid, borderline one-dimensional grappler, and I'll take that. We're going to get the takedown points. We're going to get some pounding. We may get a stoppage, but either way, I'll take that, and I'll take all those points that come with the control time and the takedowns. Then I have Miocic over Bukakas. I think he gets a stoppage. There's a ton of points there. He wings punches. He comes out like an absolute crazy person, and I think he gets the stoppage, so I'll take that. And then I have Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley is probably the least confident I am in all of these for a win. But Tyron Woodley at that price, the former champion, while he has looked horrible in his last few fights, he's literally fighting for his life here. If he wins this fight, he can continue on his career, continue to get, fight night main events, pay-per-view, feature fight, co-main events. But if he loses this fight, he likely is done in the UFC. I cannot imagine with the I'm on vacation. With the performances that he's had and what he's done, if he doesn't win, there's no way he keeps his career. So I just think this is his comeback. He's going to come out here, guns blazing, and try to make something happen. So that's my least confident pick in this lineup. But at $7,100, even with leftover money, there was nobody else in that range that I was confident in like I am with Tyron Woodley. So, Jacob, why don't you walk us through your lineup? And throughout this week, your lineup and mine looked very similar, but we have made some adjustments here. So why don't you walk us through what you got going on?
Yeah, we've made some adjustments. I want everyone to go back to the Wednesday video. Check out my lineup, okay? and then watch the video when the William Knight Menenfield fight dropped, and watch how I replaced Menenfield in my lineup, combine my original lineup, throw in Menenfield, and then check out Angelo's lineup that we have sitting here, because he's got all of a sudden had 5 of the 6 that I had in my lineup. It's very interesting, Angelo. You were so high on doubling up the heavyweights.
Apparently, I'm chasing third place, Jake. I'm third place, Jake.
Oh, what happened to the doubling up the main event, Angelo?
Third place.
You were so confident.
Jake. I will mute you, and we'll just move on. So go ahead and walk us through.
Oh man, look at that!
And watch the subs just plummet because I'm the voice of the people.
The fans will rebel, Angelo.
I'm up at 7 a.m. right now for the people. I'm doing it for everyone because they've been waiting on my lineups. Listen, Dan can break down a fight better than anyone on YouTube, on ESPN, anyone technically. Nick knows every single. I don't know how he knows so many people in the MMA.
We're not getting into who's worth more on this show. Do your lineup.
No, and then we have Angelo who.
You're muted. It's happening. This is happening. Do your lineup.
And then we have Angelo. And then we have me, the voice of the people. They come to, they trust me. So I'm up at 7 a.m. Like the video, subscribe, because I'm the voice of the people. Angelo's stealing my lineups now. So I literally 2 hours before this started, I had to switch my lineup because Angelo had 5 of the 6 same as my original lineup that I placed on Wednesday, which is ridiculous. So
Angelo's vacation is over. He's booking a flight home. He is just defeated right now.
I'm flying home just to smack Jacob in the mouth. Hurry up.
This is unreal. He's talking about Morales like he was high on the whole time. I had Morales before he even had an opponent. Morales is in my lineup. I'm a little more hesitant now because I thought he was going to have a short replacement opponent. Now he's got Shane Young, who's a city kickboxing guy. He's no slouch, but Morales is a very, very good fighter. He's coming down in weight. Angelo mentioned that, which is a great point, Angelo. One of the best points you've made in weeks. He came down, fought Giga, and got beat. But Giga is one of the top guys in the division. So I'm confident in Morales. Then we come down to, I lost my lock of the week this week, guys. I lost William Knight. He was my lock of the week. Everybody's been waiting. Everybody's been emailing me, DMing me. What's the lock of the week? What's the lock of the week? I'm trying to put my mortgage on it. So my new lock of the week is, and this is a backup lock of the week. So I'm not penalized if this guy loses. This is short notice. I get credit if he wins, but I'm not penalized if he loses. That's the deal because it's short notice. This is a backup lock of the week. It's Malarkey. He's my lock of the week. He gets it done with his grappling takedowns. Even if he has to strike, he's a very confident striker as well. Can get it done on his feet, but I think he just mauls this guy. 8, 9, 10 takedowns, scores 1,000,000 points. Next, I had to flip the main event pick because Angelo all of a sudden doesn't double up the main event and takes Stipe. So I had to flip my main event pick, which actually I think I feel better about, into Ngannou. I heard a lot of people break down this fight, and I agree with Stipe has to fight a perfect fight for 5 rounds. If he slips up once, he's done. He's lights out. So Ngannou can just kind of take his time, and boom, and it's lights out. Can Stipe do it? Of course he can. He did it before, but he 8 shots in that first fight. He 8 shots, so Ngannou just catch them a little bit better. Since then, he got clipped by DC, so we'll see what happens there. So I have Ngannou in my lineup. And then the rest is Nurmagomedov. He's not the same grappler as Khabib, but he doesn't have to be against Gooden. He's still that top level, can get it down to the ground and do whatever he wants in that fight. Angelo hates Sean O'Malley. He had him in his lineup and then took him out for whatever reason. I think it's a bad move. He says he quit in that last fight. If you listen to Sean O'Malley, he actually talks about the injury that he had. It was one of those, he calls it a freak accident. He said it was a toe on the nerve of his leg that just absolutely shut his leg down. There's nothing he could do. And if you watch it, that happened kind of early on in that fight, and he still kept fighting. He was moving forward, and he was piecing up Cheeto in that fight. He was going to dominate that fight, and then got to a point where he literally just couldn't walk on his leg anymore, got to the ground, and just said, you know what, screw it, let's move on. So he is an undefeated fighter, just like my lock of the week is undefeated. Still week like 12 now. So I took Sean O'Malley in the lineup, and I have a bet on him winning by TKO in the second round. Watch our betting video. You'll see all that stuff come. And then Woodley. Angelo, another great point that he made with Woodley. It's a former champ, $7,100. He's got KO power. If all of a sudden he just uses wrestling, I think people still forget how good of a wrestler that Woodley is and can be. So if he wants to use his grappling and just stay on top and control that fight, that's going to be 1,000,000 points as well. You match that with the power and the price at $7,100. That's a steal in my book. Even in those fights where 15 rounds he lost, I think, in a row, he never got finished. So there's always that chance that he can, roll and get an advance point, roll back on top. So I like Woody in that. And I actually wore my NASA hat today because this lineup, guys, out of this world.
Wow.
I was so close to giving you compliments on kind of everything, the lineup, the breakdown, and then you just
so this is it. If Angelo does really well this week, then I did well. But if this lineup does well as well that I have picked, then I did well. So my bases are covered this week. I'm guaranteed.
I do well every single week. So 2 points before I mute you. One, we got to talk about captain's mode very quickly. So we get, Chris Jory, you always ask for captain's picks. Here's my captain's picks, right? So captain's mode is when you take a pick, they cost a little more money than the actual value in the system here, but you end up scoring at 1.5 times that person's points. My captain's pick this week would be Alonzo Menafield. He has a last-minute opponent. DraftKings did not revalue him. I'm not going to get into that whole spiel, but DraftKings sets the value. They set him at $8,100 because he had a very tough fight. He now has a last-minute opponent. They have not readjusted that $8,100, so he is a steal at that price. He's a great captain's mode pick. Also, I would say Jamie Malarkey.
And just remember that he was the opposite of lock of the week, guys.
Anyway, Jamie Malarkey is also an awesome captain's mode pick. He's an underdog. He's an underdog. He should score a ton of takedowns, which is a ton of points. So that's a great captain's mode pick. And lastly, anybody watching this that's like really worried about Tyron Woodley, Jamie Malarkey's a solid swap there if you have the money. I actually have the money. I stayed with Woodley, but I went back and forth with Malarkey over Woodley. The only reason I stayed with Woodley is Woodley has that one-punch knockout power and the wrestling. My concern is that he'll be the Tyron Woodley we saw the last 3 fights where he'll just do nothing. Where Malarkey doesn't have the power, but he has the wrestling. So that's an easy swap if you're really down on Woodley.
That's what I'm talking about. I had to redo my lineup and I put Malarkey in. Now Angelo's all of a sudden saying like, "Oh, I almost put Malarkey in." I mean, it's nonstop, guys. It's not.
Check the betting.
Please.
It's very unreasonable.
I was going to say, Angelo, if you want to get into the whole price will not change explanation, I haven't eaten yet. I'll go cook breakfast and I'll come back in like a half hour.
I'm sorry. Again, anybody watching this, I really apologize for their attitudes and their unwillingness to share this valuable information.
Let's move on. I'll do Nick's lineup if you want.
No, I think we've heard enough of you. Dan, why don't you do your lineup and then I'll decide who does Nick.
All right. Yes. Yeah. Oh wow, throwing around that weight.
Sorry, Nick. I was gonna help you out, Nick. Sorry.
All right. So I've got Baralt over Azatar, $8,200. I think this is going to be a close fight. This is one of those ones where I don't know what Azatar is going to look like, but I think I'm going with Baralt based off of him looking good, aggressive lately. He's fought more recently. He's been more active, whereas Azatar has been kind of MIA for a couple of years, I think coming off a USADA suspension. So anytime you can get kind of even money on those metrics, I feel like you got to go with the more active guy in what appears to be a close fight anyway. So I'm taking Baralt for $8,200. I think it should be action-packed, ton of points either way. And then I got Menafield. We already talked about it. Guy's got explosive hands. Sharon's taken this short notice. He looks like the more athletic, probably technical striker, but he also looks very hittable, and that is not a good recipe against a guy like Menafield, who's got a full camp, probably working on his cardio, and I think is going to feel pretty confident coming forward and throwing bombs. So him for $8,100. That was an easy pick. Then we got Malarkey, talked about it, live dog all day. I think the wrestling is going to be the factor here. I'm going to look up some bets right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he got Worthy down enough times where he got a finish on the ground via sub or ground and pound. But I think the wrestling is going to be the factor in this fight, and Malarkey is going to shoot as many takedowns as he needs to make it that sort of fight. Then I got Ngannou over Miocic. So same thing. Jacob already talked about it, or Angelo might have covered it, but no, I just think you did. Okay, right. Well, you've stepped up your game lately. I've been impressed until you did the whole NASA hat weird thing. But other than that, no, I think Ngannou for $8,400, a guy that has that much power in a 5-round fight, he could land a bomb early and finish him like he's done his last 3 or 4 fights. B, let's say Miocic does come out with the perfect game plan. He didn't finish him the first time, and Ngannou was gassed out in round 2. They're going to go 5 rounds for $8,400. I would imagine it's going to be more competitive. So worst case scenario, even if he loses the decision over 5 rounds, he's going to put up a decent amount of points. Obviously, if Miocic starches him early, I don't think that'll happen. That could be the only thing that could spoil this one. But for $8,400, I got Ngannou all day with the upside. Then Nurmagomedov. So I wasn't going to put him in my lineup originally. I watched more tape on him throughout the week and watched some tape on Gooden, looked up some of his losses, and it looks like Gooden has struggled with wrestlers. I believe he lost to Michael Graves via wrestling. Nurmagomedov, honestly, his striking looks to be improving. He's got power in his hands. The path to victory is takedown, takedown, takedown. But I think, after I watched the video, Nurmagomedov striking is good enough to where he can maintain and not get put away. But I think if he gets the takedowns, Gooden is going to get tired. I know he had a close call with the weight cut yesterday, right? You get to reweigh in. No?
Yeah.
I'm not shaking my head against you. No.
Okay.
You're good. Keep going.
All right. I was just making sure. If Jake
He's just generally annoyed. He's just sitting there just.
Right. He's still thinking about you accusing him of copying his lineup.
Get your water.
Drink some water, Angelo. It's almost time for nap time. No, I think Nurmagomedov is going to dominate this fight on the ground. And if they do strike, I think he's competent enough to not get clipped. So for $9,000, I think he's going to get a ton of takedowns, score a ton of points, and a decision victory. And then lastly, I got Miocic at $8,500. We broke this down in earlier videos. Dude comes out like the Tasmanian devil, throwing bombs from all over the place. And I think Bukauskas is very hittable. Should be an action-packed fight. I wouldn't be surprised if Miocic got an early knockout here, or at the very least, it was a back-and-forth 3-round battle where a ton of points are scored on both sides. So for $8,500, I've got him in there to round things out. Feel pretty good about the lineup. Definitely stay tuned throughout the day. If there's any last minute drops, we always kind of try to hop on and do last minute updates. So Angelo is in New Jersey, as he reminded everybody. So maybe he'll do it live from the sports book, but stay tuned. Excited for the fights.
Yeah, actually, speaking of live, Jacob's doing a live stream tonight. So join the Fight Companion, watch the fights with Jacob, and
wear a clown suit, whatever you want to do. It's gonna be a fun time. I'm gonna try to tune in, Jacob. I'm calling up.
I mean, you should have me on while you watch the fights. I'll give you the best commentary you've ever heard.
I'm gonna be with Glover Teixeira and Alex Pereira tonight watching the fights.
You should sit there.
Steve Mako. So you let them know. I'll tell them, hey, let me call my expert analysis guy, Jacob. I'll loop them in for them to kind of learn some knowledge from you.
That's right.
So very quickly, definitely tune into that live stream. Also, check back here if there's any drops. We'll give you our updated lineups. I'll run through Nick's quickly. He's not here, so he doesn't get the benefit of a detailed analysis.
I volunteered.
Because you're all right. You can do it, but clock's a ticking.
No, I'm not gonna. I want to do it real quick, and then you guys can discuss it because this is one week where I actually.
Jacob, I'll give you $20 if you just take as long as possible.
I'll just shut this down. It's going to get
his entire vacation.
It's going to get uploaded.
Overanalyze Newell's lineup.
Basically.
Nothing would make me happier.
Nick, I think what he was going. So anyway, this is one week where I think Nick's lineup was one of those lineups that if he hits it, he's going to hit it big. It's going to be like one of those big lineups. And here's why. You have Stipe and Malarkey as kind of the grapplers of the lineup that can score 1 million points with their grappling takedowns. You have Vicente Luque, who's the biggest, one of the bigger favorites on the card against Woodley, who's admittedly looked awful. I think we've all said he's got the ability, but there's a reason why he's $7,100. And then his other 3 fighters are like first round knockout potential people. With Barriol against Zatar, you got Menefield, who we've talked about, and then we all agree that last fight is going to go inside the distance at some point. So if you combine his lineup, if he hits all these, I think he hits all these big, and it's like one of those closest like 700 point lineups, just to the way that it's designed. And I'm sure he did that on purpose. So that's how I feel about the lineup. You guys can talk about individually if you like anything that but that's immediately what I saw was like, okay, he's got the grappling points, he's got the takedowns, and then everyone else, it's like KO potential, KO potential, KO potential. So I like Nick's lineup this week.
No, you bring up a good point. It's definitely a different lineup where he went heads up with a few of us, but it's a good lineup. You're not wrong for sure. His biggest weakness is Jamie Malarkey, who we think's going to win, and Stipe, who I think's going to win. So it's definitely a good lineup. And
the Luke Woodley fight is going to be the most interesting fight to me because there's a ton of upside on Woodley if he shows up, but a ton of downside if he does what he's done the last 3 fights. So
the Woodley fight will be literally no outcome will be surprising, but it'll be the most frustrating one to watch. So either way, thanks for the watch. Let us know down below whose lineup you like best, and check back here in case there's any drops, and we'll get you updated.
Before you go, check out the description below. In there, we have links to our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, and more importantly, to our DraftKings League. Check out the league, join the league, participate in the contests, and as we get going and as you start winning, we're going to start handing out gift cards and participating and doing things like that. So check those out. Every week, there are drops on every fight card. So make sure you check out this channel and our social media on Saturday before the fights start so that you have our most updated lineups and picks.